guys, welcome to another exciting video. Today I am here with the developer of EasyRed 2, Marco, and he is in Italy, correct?
Yes, correct. Hi, Henduskal, and thank you a lot for inviting me here.
All right, just call me Endo because that Endo's cool. I don't know. I think I made the name too long, so Endo.
Oh,
Endo is just
okay,
fine.
Endo will be fine. Okay.
All right, so I went and looked at your past games, and so can you tell me about where you started with creating games?
Yes, sure thing. Well, I started back in high school. Here in Italy, we go in high school until you are 19. And basically, I was in a IT school where they taught us mostly about programming. And I really loved that. I tried to program some easy game, like the old games that you write directly into the console. They tells you like, what do you want to do next? Press this to do this, or press that to do that. But that wasn't right enough to me because like I was still in like 2017, 2016, maybe even earlier. And I was looking at games that were masterpiece compared to that, especially in the graphic, because there was like no graphic at all in those kind of games. So I really looked in the online web to see what I could do with that. I found out that there was this kind of game engines like Unity, like Unreal, like many others, but Unity and Unreal were obviously the most common ones. And I really tried to do something with that. But to do something with that, I had to have a modeler, or I had to learn modeling somehow. And basically, starting from the like most common tutorial on the YouTube, which usually teach you how to make like cups or very easy models. I started making models and making some experiments, learning something. And, I tried Unreal first, but it was complicated in some aspects. Then I tried Unity, and it was complicated as well. But after some time trying one, trying the other one, I found that there were some ways to do some interesting stuff on Unity. So I went there, watched the more tutorials, tried to model some weapons, some stuff to make a cool game, and with my skills that I learned in my school. And like after 2 or 3 years, basically I had enough skills to make a game. So I went there and made my first game, which is EasyRed, and is the prequel of the current game I'm working on. It was very similar in concept of this game. This game is basically EasyRed 2 is basically the proper way to make what I couldn't do back then, because even if I had the skill to make that first EasyRed, it wasn't really what I wanted to make, because yes, I had those skills, but they weren't just what I wanted to make. But it was fine for back then. I was still in high school, so it was a pretty good result to me. So yeah, I did this game. I presented it also as final exam project for my school. They loved it, of course, and that encouraged me a lot to go ahead and publish the game on Steam. And publishing the game there really made me notice that there was a huge bubble of World War II players that was very angry that nowadays there aren't many companies that tries to push more World War II games, but with more modern aspects or new features. So I basically noticed that there was this bubble of people that was kind of searching that kind of game, and I have to say it was a real success. I have to say, Easy Red One really was a project that, even if the results, the gains weren't that big, really motivated me to go on and try do more games. Even if at the first projects they weren't like still a real job. Yeah, they gave me some monies, but still the money spent were much more than the gains. But like all the people interested on that, all the feedbacks, all the results were so much encouraging that for a couple of years it was more a passion, a hobby. But years after year, I really managed to turn this into my actual job, and here I am working into Israel 2 with a couple other guys right now, actually 4 guys, and a couple more people helping here and there in commission. So I have to say I really found what I really want to do in life, and I really found projects and kind of games that I really can do and I really love to do.
After EasyRed, you went and did another game which was kind of like a RPG World War II game?
Yes, I made in total like 6 or 7 games, but 3 games were war games. Easy Red One, Easy Red Two, of course, and A Front Too Far. And as you said, that game, it wasn't just World War II shooter game. It was also an RPG game. It was kind of weird mix, but it was trying to innovate the genre, because I was a fan of RPG games. I think RPG games are a very very unique experience. Are very time taking, but to play on usually. So I try to, but usually would plays like first person shooter and stuff like that. Once more quick game, doesn't like to play like 100 hours. So I try to mix them to make something unique, something never saw. And basically, yes, the idea was giving to the player a reason to be in a world full of enemies, just like an RPG. Like in Fallout, you walk around this huge, devastated world, and everywhere you see, you get wolves, you get mutants, infected animals, and stuff. And I was thinking how to make this into a World War II game. So basically, the idea was making a story where you are OSS member, which is kind of a spy sent into enemy territory, and that's it. Basically, you had to survive. You could go around, collect stuff, and hide or attack enemies, just like another kind of RPG game, but set it into World War II.
All right, so now we're going to get to the exciting stuff, Marco, okay? Easy Red 2, all right? You ready to talk
Yeah,
about Easy Red 2?
sure thing. Love talking about that game, of course.
So, you said that you were trying different types of games. What made you come back to Easy Red to make a sequel?
Well, as said, Easy Red One was a. I noticed there was a big bubble of players that loved a specific genre, but that wasn't that much looked into. And even if I made various kind of games, some had success, some didn't had lot of success. But I really noticed that into Easy Red there were a lot of fans that still wanted to have another game. And since that was my first game, I really felt like I could do obviously better, because back then it was like a high school project, mostly started as a test project, but now I had the skills to remake it in a very good shape. And yes, the fact that there were many people interested in that is very important, because as just you said, you was a Easy Red One player, you and many other people. I really met many people, just like you said, that were saying to me, yeah, I played Easy Red One, and they found out that you made another game, and that's cool. And you know, I really noticed that there were people that really remember that game, even after a few years. So this mixed to the fact that I really wanted to make a better and cooler version that gives, the right, how to say, the right look, the right justice to the series. I really wanted to, like I was feeling like I haven't completed the first Easy Red, not because I rushed it or anything, just because I didn't have the skills. And it was finally had the chance to finish something I felt like wasn't really on the best thing I could do for the genre.
Okay. So, Easy Red 2. When I play Easy Red 2, I get that correct me if I'm wrong, is there any influence from Battlefield 1942 and the original Call of Duty?
Well, not specifically from those games, I have to say. At least not like intentionally, but like I know why you're asking this, because many people actually told me, "Wow, this is like playing Battlefield 1942, but like in a more modern way and with more features and with still a team supporting and working into this." So I have to say, not exactly, again, not like intentionally, but probably somehow they that game, because I played that in my childhood, somehow led me to think, to make my own idea of how should be the a good battles, a good war simulator. But when making Easy Red, I have to say that I'm talking about the first Easy Red, because the second Easy Red comes after the first and tries to improve the ideas of the first. But when I was making the first Easy Red, I was really thinking on how should be a World War II games that I really want to play. and not it wasn't really, again, not, I would say copying, but even just inspiring intentionally from other games actually.
Yeah, because I went back and played just the other day. I went back and played Call of Duty, the
Hmm.
original, which it's still a pretty good game considering how old it is. And it did have the vibes of Easy Red 2. It kind of gave you the feeling of Easy Red 2, except Easy Red 2 expands on all of those games because you have that wide open map, which is really nice. So
Hmm.
I'm going to describe Easy Red 2, and you tell me if you agree with it. All right, so Easy Red 2 is a World War II sandbox because you have a map editor in which you can pretty much set up your own battles with the AI to some extent, right?
Yes.
You have the multiplayer. I I personally, and I don't mean to offend you, I don't think the multiplayer is ever going to be popular where PvP battles, but I think where you have found a really good spot is the co-op in the PvE, the player versus environment. I think that's where Easy Red really excels
Hmm.
because you can get a group of people together and you can play on these these big maps and have a really good time just having fun against the AI or just little skirmishes together. But I don't see it fitting in with like Postscriptum or Hell Let Loose because those games are too commercial, I guess. So how do you see Easy Red? Do you agree with that? Do you think that it should be more of a PvP game, or are you happy with the smaller friendly group battles with friends and stuff like that?
Well, thank you, because you really understood what the multiplayer actually tries to do. Many players, actually, many people wrote like reviews or emails to me telling, "Yeah, your multiplayer isn't as popular as Hell Let Loose or other games." And I always am like, "Yes, this is like a very indie game." When I was programming the multiplayer, I was thinking, okay, why making a multiplayer game that is meant to be played by hundred of players, where I can really know if there will be many players working on it. Actually, the multiplayer wasn't even an idea for a feature meant to be in the game, like in 2020 when the game was first released. It was something I added later because people were asking it. So I thought, okay, if I want to make a multiplayer, this needs to be fun, even if just two friends are playing together, because maybe in the first times, and there were times where there were many players, and yes, in the first times maybe, or after the release or after some update, I can expect to have some boost of multiplayer players. But like after 1 year or 2 years from the release, when the multiplayer gets empty and more empty, why should it be still there if no one is playing it? So I try to give a reason to it, and I try to make the game working as well as in single player as it with playing with 2 players or with 20 players, because the idea is just to start replacing bots, AIs from the single players with actual players when they want to join a multiplayer match together. That way, yes, the game can be just a PvE game, like you want to play it co-op with your friends and continuing the campaign with other people, or it can be a PvP game if you get more friends or get playing into a moment where there was a boost because of some update or something. So yes, you really understood what was the multiplayer about. The game is still mostly, I would say, yes, there is a multiplayer, but the game is actually mostly single player, but it's a single player that you can play with other people. That's how I define this kind of multiplayer actually.
Okay, that's good. Yeah. Okay, good. I was I was worried I was going to offend you, but um, just
No,
from
the contrary, you really guessed you really guessed right.
yeah, but from my view, I think the biggest excitement of when I got the game is that first of all, you have it priced at a good price, right? For what it is, you're getting quite a bit of fun. So that was pretty cool. So I bought the game, I installed it, and the first thing I did is I played one campaign mission just to get an idea of how the new one worked, Easy Red 2. And then I jumped into the map editor. And then once I jumped into the map editor, that's where I got a lot of excitement because I saw that I could set up scenarios and build, and we could, have fun, doing live streams or whatever the heck we want doing missions in Easy Red that we built, that we built ourselves. Can we talk about what secret features do you have coming to Easy Red that you're not going to talk about unless I bug you? Is there anything that you're really working on that you haven't talked about that you're going to add?
Right now there aren't like a lot of secret stuff coming on. Usually the idea of is that yeah, of course I announce the big changes that are coming, and when there are, and I often get a lot of feedbacks like, yeah, you should add this, you should change that, and I usually wrote them down. I have a huge list of stuff that might be added, might not be added, and right now, just these days, I was considering adding some suggestions just for the mission editor and the map editor to improve the workflow on that. For example, many people asked for features to better copy entire. You play the editor, you said. So basically, right now you know that you can like take one single asset, copy and paste it, and move it where you would need it to be. But if you want to copy like an entire chunk of houses, roads, and stuff, that's not possible. Not yet, at least. But many people requested that. That would probably increase the development of maps from. Mhm.
Because when you're trying to like build the what are they called, the hedgehogs, you have to place one by one or copy them. But if you
Yeah.
want to like put like a whole field of hedgehogs, in the
Yes.
water or
Yes.
something, you could just
Exactly.
a group and just paste them.
Yeah, yeah, I should think. Feel free, of course, to, to add suggestions, just like any other players. This kind of stuff are very important. The game has always been built, especially this second chapter, but also the first game around what players would expect from a game like this. That's actually very important, especially after I, get like 5 or 6 people asking for a feature, and this feature you are not the first person asking this. When many people ask this, I really understand that it's something that the games would really require. So thank you for the suggestions. Uh, Again, I can confirm this is gonna end on. Actually, it's already there on my list of stuff that it's like stuff I will consider to do. There's always a lot of work, so I can never, promise anything. But it happens often that someone tells me, "Yeah, you should add this," and I say, "Yeah, who knows?" And maybe like 1 week later, is there. So I can promise it, but that doesn't mean, yeah, I'm thinking about it and never do that. That means once I have time, I think this can be surely a helpful thing. Just like the copy and paste entire area thing, it was something that it was suggested. I haven't never said yes, I'm gonna do this, but now that I have a little bit of time, I'm trying to add it because uh, people want it, can be useful. I have time to work on it, so why not?
Okay, so let's talk about the AI a little bit currently. The way it's set up, the way the game flow is set up now, is you have these objective points, and it looks like you can put one or more. I was kind of messing around with the editor where you can put one or more objective points in like phase one where they first attack, and then you go to the next phase or whatever. Something that seems to interrupt the flow in some ways is you can't make a map where like maybe you have AI that's like up front in a position that is not on the objective. Is there any plans to make AI where you can make them like, I don't know what you would call them, like sub objectives, but where you could put AI that's defending in certain places around the map that might be for an ambush or something, so they don't all run back to the objective all the time?
Oh, I see. I see. Yes, in general, you're right. The fact that currently for map editors, there's basically one kind of objective is very limiting. Um, the idea of that is that yes, we can have many AI in game, like 100 or sometimes even 200, like quite a good amount of AI, I have to say. But they needs to be used in the correct way, because if you put some AIs in a and you're a map editor and you put them in a place because you expect players to pass there and it doesn't pass, I think of that just as a waste of CPU calculations, because you are putting AIs that might not never be used. I'm really trying to make that the objectives and the AIs automatically works the best, and they always have a use. So as I understand that your suggestion would be cool to add more variety for map makers. At the same time, I will have to figure out a good way to implement stuff like this, not to waste a lot most of the AI around the map and just a few on the areas where actually the players go and fight. But yes, I understand what you mean, what you would like to have, and yes, more kind of objective are actually again another thing that is not really planned, that doesn't really have a date where I suppose I will start working on, but it's something that I agree the game will need. I was actually already considering adding this kind of stuff for the upcoming Stalingrad DLC and DLC we are working on, and of course not for a DLC use only, but as the DLC will give an update to the game, but there will be a lot of stuff that will be added for base users as well. And I think a few new objective types for the map editor would be cool. So another suggestion I would like to thank you for. And yes, I agree with you. I agree that currently there's some limitations still on how you can place the AI and how you can set them around the map.
So another question: does the I think this I saw this in your Discord as well. Does the AI can you sneak up on them? Is it possible to sneak up on them, or are they always knowing where you are?
Kind of. The game has some basic stealth system. If you go in game and you open your inventory, you can press on your uniform or your gear or your headgear, and you will see a value that displays how much the stuff protects you, but also how much it hides you. And you can hide on distance. You will be less, more hard to spot if you are crouched or if you're prone, and you will be much easier to spot if you are shooting, of course. um, there is not really a sneak behind right now, mostly because in this I think that in this kind of game you actually expect the soldiers that are fighting really to be very alerted, to communicate a lot. If one spots you, he will scream, "Oh my God, there's someone there! Look at him!" And so I don't think that this is really required, at least for the mission that are meant to be in the base game. I understand that maybe this could be a cool idea if in case in future we might want to add some stealth mission, but that's not really what the game is about. It's more about big battles. But I see that some users try to do some stealth missions in map editor and mission editor. So this is not something that the game is meant to have. It is just very quick and simple system of spotting based on on distance, as I said. But might be another thing that could be cool for the future, for
Yeah,
sure.
down the road. I think I was thinking about it as far as like if you're doing a small co-op and you wanted to be able to fight a larger army, you'd want to be able to kind of take some of them out a little bit quietly, I guess. So that's what I was thinking about when I was saying asking that question was more of a co-op mission where you were doing a
Just to add, I also have to say that the games currently support attachments in your weapons, and there is some, let's call it hidden code that allows implementing suppressors. So some stealth mechanic, I think, will be added already this year for adding suppressors in weapons and being able not to be spotted when you are firing some kind of weapon. So
So what you're saying is I actually got a secret out of you. I did get a secret.
yeah, this can be considered a secret. Yeah, there's actually a lot of secrets like this. There are many stuff here and there in the code that where I when I was writing the AI or other stuff, I was thinking, yeah, I can write a little bit of this just in case in future I have like 10 or 20 hours and do the full system. But now let's just spend like 10 minutes and allow the code in future, to allow stuff like this. So yes, as suppressor are one of these features, there are actually other features. I can't remember all of them right now, but I'm sure continuing this code might be something else that pops
Okay,
into my mind.
I might ask the right question to get more secrets. Okay, thinking about the forum, I've read through the forum quite a bit on Discord. So one question that I saw come up is: are there any plans to make the aircraft carriers move or the battleship?
Yeah, that's as you said, another question that is really asked. Um, I think if we're gonna do something like that, it would be cool to maybe add a big update, to add in general drivable ships and stuff like that. Not see that we really plan to do. There was a time where the game just had infantry and some vehicles, and many people were saying, yeah, this game definitely needs playing. And there was, just like I'm considering right now, both something for the future, they were considered something for the future. And yes, when I had time, I added them, and I think it will be probably the same with both. Another thing that I can't promise, this is probably between everything we said, the least possible thing that I will add, mostly because this is something that will require a lot of time actually to do. But if I'm gonna do something like this, I think I'm gonna do it complex and very proper, not just for carriers, not just for destroyers, but full ship system that you can drive and use properly.
While we're asking for features here, submarines.
Hmm. Oh, yeah, of course. I was thinking of summaries as well when telling this. Of course, the game right now is not really meant to
Right.
have those kind of battles, but that's why I think this should be topic for a big update, because I would need to add kind of the objectives and stuff that will allow this kind of battles, because I don't think it would make much sense to have a mixed combat between infantry and submarines.
Right, right,
I
right.
think it's gonna be like some sort of variation of the game. Like right now, the games try to have vehicles that can mix all together as much as possible. Like you can have a battlefield with tanks, planes, and soldiers walking. You can also have some artillery boats that are firing, I think. But if you have to add submarines that are specifically made to attack usually boats and stuff like that, you're reeling up too much stuff. And I think that could be like something for a naval combat version of the Easy Red 2 missions, where you're not supposed to have infantry, tanks, but just naval battles. So in a possible future updates, or maybe DLC, who knows, adding boats and stuff, surely submarines are something that I would love actually to add.
Yeah, right. Now, I was just kind of asking for features because, again, I have you right here. So I kind of want to see what kind of things are going on in your mind for the future of Easy Red. But I understand that that's way off if that's even going to come because you've got a lot of stuff that you're trying to get done right now. So one of them I saw on your, I guess, your roadmap is you're talking about changing how planes work. Is that correct?
Yeah, many people asked for more realistic controls for vehicles. Some sort of, I'd say, War Thunder control kind, or something that at least support the joystick that looks like the plane's control joystick. I don't know how it's called, but yeah, for some more simulation controls. So I don't think that removing the current controls is a good idea. So that might be system that I hope I will be able to add this year. I think that's into consideration section of the roadmap. Actually, the roadmap is not that much updated right now, but yes, it's into consideration to add an option to have more realistic controls, or at least controls that supports the joystick with the handled joystick.
What is the damage model on tanks and planes and stuff currently? Is it just hit points or is it like specific points?
Like how the damages and destruction works on planes and vehicles in general.
Yeah, like if they're getting hit by a shell or something, does it matter
Yes,
where it hits?
yes, of course. So basically, yes, we're trying to simulate everything we can in all kind of stuff we have in the game. So yes, basically, tanks and planes works a little bit differently. Tanks have some internal parts that can be damaged, like the engine, traction, the fuel tank. Don't remember right now. The integrity of the hull in general, and also you have the position where the crew is supposed to be. So when you're shooting a vehicle, basically the first, okay, this is basically based on how the real war works. I don't know if you ever heard this, but in real war, you usually want to make your, of course, tank and crew survive as much as possible. So how does that works? First of all, the first thing you can do is try not to be there, but of course have to be there for playing this kind of game. So the first stage is always passed. Then you basically have not to be spotted, and that's something you can do in game. You can try avoiding your tanks to be spotted. Of course, if you're trying to shoot something, they will easily spot you. Usually there's the tank commander that spots enemies, or so you can be spotted by another tank, especially if they have their tank commander still alive. Then they're actually trying to shoot you. If they shoot you, they first have, of course, to try to hit you. There's a lot of ballistic in projectiles. It's not immediate, something that you can do very immediately. You have to learn a little bit about that, about how the projectiles can fall, especially because different tanks have different bullets with different speeds, so they go more straight or they fall earlier depending on their speed and other factors. Then finally you have your protection. If you have been spotted, if you have been your enemy is shooting at you, etc., you don't want to be penetrated, you don't want to be damaged. So basically you have, this is again in real life but also in game, you have your armor. Your armor is made of material with a specific thickness. Basically, different kind of projectiles can penetrate different kind of armor. How to say, not very thick armor can be penetrated by most projectiles, most penetrating projectiles, or a very thick armor needs very big and very fast projectiles to be penetrated. Also, projectiles can also ricochet if the angle is very large, like after 70 or 60 degrees impact on a surface, projectiles can ricochet. It can depend on the kind of projectiles. Some projectiles just explodes or has other kind of functionalities. But yeah, usual penetrating projectiles just ricochet if they don't go very straight to the target. When you penetrate your target, you can encounter some module, as I was saying earlier, or some that you can destroy, or some crew member that you can kill. And killing crew member will affect the way the enemy tank will behave, and killing modules will at some point destroy and stop the enemy tank.
So what you're saying currently is you do have different armor in different positions on the tank?
Yes, yes. Tanks usually, just like the real tanks, are more protected on the front or in the position where you expect to have the crew members or very delicate modules of your vehicle.
Are you using data from actual
From
tanks?
usually, yes, usually Wikipedia or other sources. We have a guy on our Discord server that usually does this kind of research for us.
Okay, cool. So the tanks are actually, I mean, I don't know, I don't play War Thunder tanks, but I'm guessing that you're kind of doing what War Thunder's doing, where you're doing armor, you're doing penetration, ricochet. Are you doing
Yeah.
are you doing the
Mhm.
shrapnel inside, or no shrapnel inside?
What do you mean exactly? Like a real
So
simulation of the shrapnel? There's
yes.
some kind. Okay, there's some kind of simulation of that usually is very random. I think even War Thunder do that way. They display to you something that look like what the shrapnel are actually working inside. But yes, there is some randomness in how the damage can occur after a projectile penetrated a tank.
Okay.
It doesn't really need to go directly into the crew member to hit him. It can sometimes even hit modules or crew members, even if the projectile is not. But usually doesn't make in the game very big damage for, of course,
Okay.
balance.
All right, cool. I was just curious
Yes, yeah.
because I've had a few tank battles and they're pretty fun. They're pretty fun to watch, especially when the guy yells at me, "No penetration," which is really upsetting. So, is there something that comes to mind when you're working on Easy Red that's really bothering you that you haven't changed yet? Is there some feature that you really want to get in there that you haven't been able to do so?
Yes, actually, yes. When I was thinking about this game, I was really thinking, yes, I need to make this Easy Red so much well performant that there will be so many bots and players in the map, and even if there are many, it will run fine on low end hardwares or Nintendo Switch. The game has really been meant like, yes, if this game runs well on Nintendo Switch, it will run on every low end hardware. Unfortunately, AI in games, at least for my experience, they can really be pretty consuming, both for the CPU, because they really have to do many calculation, especially for the pathfinding, because they have to do a lot of scan in the 3D world, especially because the 3D world constantly changes when buildings get destroyed, the new roads appears and stuff like that. So they really have to scan very often what's going on around them, and that's very, very consuming on the CPU. Also, it's all very consuming on the GPU. The fact that the characters have animations, they can bend their arms, and they can bend many parts of their body. So they are the skinning on models usually is something that kills a lot of GPU. I try to do the best as I could. Right now, the game try to limit your bot count to around 200 when you make your editor maps, and you really push as much as you can the bots. You put maximum possible bots, and you play it at max bots count. But I really would like in future, if possible, to increase this, because when I was firstly think about this game, I was thinking about, yes, let's have like at least 500 bucks or something crazy, just like everywhere you look at, you see the real war going on, not just a few dozen of soldiers. So yes, this is something that one of the biggest thing I really would like to improve in future. This and the graphic. But about the graphic, we are trying to address it already. Starting from January, we managed to increase our team, and now we have a few modelers helping in that part. And we already, I think, establishing a new art style that works fine for the game, at least for now.
Okay, so you're the lead programmer. How many other people do you have working with you now?
So yes, I'm the lead programmer. We got two like not really full time, but stable modelers, and another couple of support modelers that do help on commission. We also have another bunch of people in general that comes from the community. Said, yeah, I would like to help. In general, I don't accept free work because this is a work for me. I'm earning from this, so I made a contract to ask them help and give them pay for their work on commission. They're not like working as internal in the team, but they are doing some works in commission, like some sound design, some music design, or other kind of stuff like that for the game that I can't do myself, or at least it's too much time taking for me to look into at the moment if I want to go ahead with the programming of the game.
Okay, the reason I asked that is because I went through looking up Easy Red 2 videos, just to see what people thought about it. And there's some people that really love it, and there's some people that don't get it. Like I guess we were talking about earlier, they're comparing it to Hell Let Loose or Postscriptum. They don't get that this is not a huge team putting together a game and doing all the assets and the artwork and the map making and all that stuff. And you have quite a few maps in the campaign and all the missions. So you guys put a lot of work into this, and it's a really small team. So I don't get why people don't understand that Easy Red is not going to be, or Easy Red 2 is not going to be at the polished level of Hell Let Loose, but it's going to be at the polished level of a fun game that you can pick up at a reasonable price and have a lot of fun with.
Yeah. This is actually a big topic on this. Like you make videos on YouTube, so I think it's common for you to get critics, and I think that's something that even myself before working into a public section like video game industry, I never really understood haters. Like I always saw like YouTubers saying, "Yeah, I have some haters. They are they are annoying me," and I wasn't really paying that attention on that stuff. But yes, when you start doing some works for the public, you're really noticing that yeah, you can get like 100 positive comments or reviews or anything, and one person that says yeah, your work suck, and then you will at least the first time ignore all the 100 good reviews and think about that. But yeah, I have to say that actually I'm very happy about the how people describe and think about the game, because it's very rare that someone doesn't like the game. And well, when they doesn't like the game, they are usually just searching for different games. Usually they say yeah, this game is too slow, the respawn time is too slow, or I don't know,
Changing weapons
you
is too slow.
yeah,
Yeah.
or I don't know, the multiplayer that doesn't have is not very competitive, doesn't have many people. And I always think, yeah, the first time it was like, oh no, maybe I made mistakes. That's not how the game was should have been made. But now, right now, I really get used of this, and I really can understand that most of people actually like this, and people that doesn't like the game usually, I mean, there are critics you can do, of course. Not everything is perfect, as you said. We are a small team, but usually critics are more people that just are disappointed because they probably thought the game was very different.
Yeah.
Like, maybe the best thing to work into that is just to make the game page as more descriptive as possible about what people have to expect. That way you can't get mad about the game because you knew what you were going to download. And if you don't like it, it's fine. Just maybe a game for other people and not for you.
Yeah. What's
No, not no.
interesting what's
Yes.
interesting about the game for me, since I'm an old school gamer, I remember Battlefield 1942 really well because I put a lot of hours into it. Call of Duty, I remember really well because I put some hours into it. And the thing that I think people like right now, this kind of generation of gamers has forgotten, is that back then there was no season pass, but there was a map editor for Call of Duty. There was a map editor for Battlefield 1942, and it kept those games alive because you didn't have to pay $60 for a season pass. You could go ahead and download some new maps. They weren't overburdened with what do you call it? The microtransactions. You didn't have the regenerating health. You had to use a health pack or a medic, which Easy Red 2 has, which is nice. You didn't have a bunch of unlocks for guns. Like everyone didn't run around with machine guns like they do now in the latest Battlefields. I mean, even World War One, they're running around with machine guns like crazy. But Easy Red 2, you have quite a few weapons in there. But like since you can kind of like in the map editor set your groups and your squads the way you want, not everybody has a machine gun. You have a dedicated machine gunner, you have a dedicated medic, maybe AT. So that's what's nice about Easy Red 2 for me is it brings back the old style of gaming.
About this, I have to say that I've always been a fan of the realism in films, in movies, in video games. Yes, I did like this old, as you said, old gaming. How to say? Well, yes, this concept that was very, very common, like 10, 20 years ago, of making games, yes, as accurate as possible compared to what was actually the history about them. And yes, as you said, nowadays even the way to sell games is very different. Now you have season packs. Now you have many DLCs or stuff that you can skin, stuff that you can purchase. I remember when I was releasing Easy Red 1, many people said, wow, this game is better than Call of Duty World War II that was launched the same year, like 1 month before or 1 month later. I don't remember. Maybe 1 month later, but I was surprised of hearing that because I don't think Easy Red 1 was better than Call of Duty World War II. But I do think that Easy Red 2 is more accurate than Call of Duty World War II. That's for sure. So yes, if you're searching for a game that is historically accurate, yes, you can get Easy Red 1. I maybe said Easy Red 2, but I meant Easy Red 1. Of course, if you want a game that has a big team working on it, that polished it a lot, that made perfect characters, perfect weapons, amazing sound and stuff, of course that you can find them in Easy Red 1. In general, in all of my games, I always know that I can't push into the quality graphic and sound compartment too much because that's usually costs, but I can push on stuff that are free, like better features, because it's something that I do. At least it's not free, it's just my work time. But it's, if you make something different than what other are doing, even if they're doing it with huge budgets, maybe you will find people they don't really care about those huge budgets, but they want the different thing that you made. And that was the case for the first Easy Red, and I think that's of course the case of this Easy Red as well.
Are you working on Easy Red 2 full time?
Yes, I do.
Easy Red 2 is a 1.0 version. It's not early access, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so one thing I'm curious about, since the price is so fair, would you in the future likely be making a sequel, or would you likely enhance this one with DLCs and just update the engine as Unity gets updated and so on?
I'm considering making a few additions. Some will be free, some will be paid. It depends on what's our budget. Some DLCs will help us having more budget, so sometimes probably we will add some stuff even for free. But yes, the idea is to keep working on this at least until this is worth it, until this is getting enough money for us to keep working on this. But yes, this game have been built this time with the concept of yes, if we want to, we can make another game using most of our code, most of the stuff we did. But of course, I like to do stuff that are original, not just yes, let's do another game. So people are gonna paying double for the same thing, but with just a few variation. The idea is that while this Easy Red is meant to work on low end computers, as I said again, this is meant to work into a Nintendo Switch. This system will work perfectly also if we make this game into a future another game with another probably story, maybe another setting, maybe not even World War II, who knows, but made for high-end computers. So maybe adding ray tracing, high-end post-processing effects, better texture quality, better models. So yes, it's possible that after some time when making DLCs or updates is not worth it anymore, we will end up making, let's call this Easy Red 3, where the thing is that the games updates its graphic into something extremely more new, have a completely different scenario, completely different, setting. But again, who knows? Maybe I will end up making another completely different game after this. Hard to tell right now. I think for at least maybe another year we will be working into Easy Red 2, I think. So I think at least another couple DLCs, like we're working into Stalingrad right now. Many people said, yes, this game is World War II, has many stuff, it's amazing, but really lack of the Eastern Front. So we are adding that. Maybe we'll add another one or another two fronts. And then we will see if it will be worth to work more on that or pass into next project.
Okay, so the DLCs, from what I'm kind of hearing and getting, so the DLCs are basically a completely new campaign, right? How many do you have planned? How much Stalingrad has as far as missions?
Yes. As I said, it's basically new campaign. So Stalingrad will have probably at least 6 mission. I'm not sure, but yes, it will have a full new big map with all of those props, buildings, stuff for river docks and stuff that can be used in map editor. It will add like 10, 15 tanks, I don't remember, and some other planes, some boats, like 10 weapons, something like that, new uniforms. It will add a lot of bunch of new stuff that not only will be good for making the new campaign, but also for map and mission editor users.
Okay, so the I guess the biggest part of your DLCs is you're adding a bunch of new assets and a new map, new sounds.
Yes. To make the game more complete as possible. This is a World War II simulation after all, and like we want to simulate the most aspects as we can. And different fronts have different variation, different battle, and different uniforms, weapons. So yes, it would be fair, I think, to add most different battles, uniforms, soldiers as possible.
Okay, do you have a release date and cost for the DLC yet?
We don't really have a specific release date because the release date that I was thinking about and I never told anyone
Mm.
because I wasn't sure have now passed.
Okay.
Think maybe I will tell this, but like don't tell anyone.
Okay.
This channel is gonna be like on YouTube, but like of course I'm saying that this is just an idea, not something official. So of course, not a big problem. But yes, actually, the idea is to make it. I don't want to promise, but actually, again, I said that maybe this is a possible release date. I was like a
Okay.
couple of days ago looking into our like task we have to finish, and I think it's a possible date, but we will see.
So what is your Easy Red 2 update schedule? Do you update weekly? Is it a bi-weekly? How often do you update Easy Red 2?
We managed to update the game weekly for like all the 2020 and the 2021. We tried to really make people understand that we listen to feedbacks, and if you do have feedbacks that is very important to us, it can be like next week inside the game. Sometimes if you report something very, very important, it can really take just a few days to be there. But this year as we are increasing the team and the stuff we have to manage, not all weeks we have updates. Now it can be every 1 or 2 weeks. But yes, we are trying to do this as often as possible. Mostly because we usually update much stuff into the beta version, the public beta version that everyone can access, so we can get quick and get good feedbacks about if the new features are working well or not. And as we get very, very quick feedbacks, we can actually update the games fairly quickly.
And so your updates, are they mainly features or are they bug fixes or optimizations? What is it usually that you're releasing on these updates?
We usually add mostly fixes, especially for stuff added the week before. We at least every time try to add one new feature, like at least one new weapon, or one new thing that you can do through a menu, or sometimes small stuff, sometimes big stuff, like wow, this time you have 5 new vehicles, or other times you don't have new stuff but just fixes. Usually we try to add a mix of features, a mix of fixes and new features in every update.
Okay, sounds good. So is there anything else that you would like people to know about Easy Red 2 that maybe I didn't ask or that we didn't talk about?
Well, I think we have talked a lot about the game. I think that if people loves World War II, loves simulation, loves like being feeling in like I like this thing that maybe goes a little bit far from the video game stuff, but there's this small concept about Easy Red that is something that I don't tell directly into the game, but I'm developing war games, but I actually don't really, of course, enjoy war. I think that war is something that we should, in general, avoid as much as possible. And the concept I think behind this kind of war simulation game is that you go there, you see people dying so easily, and you can die that easily, and you see people screaming, you see explosion. You really don't know if you are gonna die in the next 10 seconds, because not always depends on you. Sometimes just a plane comes, drops a bomb near you, and you're gone. And I think that reminds us that yes, we are human. We can do terrible things, but we don't have to do it in real life. We can do it in other ways that doesn't harm people.
Well, I had considered actually making a video where you only get one life, so it's probably over in about 30 seconds once I hit the Omaha beach. It would be a very short video.
Yeah, it would be. But it's possible. The Easy Red 2, you can do that because Easy Red 2 has an achievement where basically if you complete the whole Anzio campaign with one life, you get it. It's called the 1 day survival. It's very hard, but some players did manage to get it.
Right? Is
If
it
I can give.
one mission or is it like all of the campaign?
The whole campaign. You can, of course, replay a mission if you die in that mission without having to replay the whole campaign, but you have to complete every mission of the campaign with one life. A suggestion I would give to who wants to try this: remember that you can play mission with invaders, but also with defenders, and some missions might be better to play with defenders if you want to complete them with one life.
This is true. I was playing one where it put me as Germans trying to attack a house or something, and the Americans were holding it like, oh, I kept playing it over and over again. The Americans just kept holding that house. It drove me crazy. So in the future, I'll get back with Marco. We are going to be putting together a little group on my Discord, and we're going to be playing Easy Red 2 as a player versus environment. So that should be fun. So you're going to want to check that out. If you haven't already checked out Easy Red 2, in the description, there is a link to Easy Red 2. It was on sale for like $5, but it's back up to, I think, $7, $8. There's a Stalingrad DLC coming soon, and there are weekly optimizations, bug fixes, and features added to the game. So you might consider getting it. And I'll be playing it in the future. So that's it, Marco. I think we're done.
Amazing. Thank you a lot. Thank you a lot, Endo, and thank you for everyone who is following this podcast. This podcast is great. Keep following it.
Ooh, thank you. I got endorsement. All right. We'll see you all later. Goodbye.